Hello everyone and welcome to our next video. So in the last video we discussed a little bit of cleanup, and it was an important step for me in the sense that it's important for me to review my own process of development and to highlight these small issues with my tendency to go too much into detail. So we removed a bit of the complexity we had, and we now come back to the sanitization part of the user input, right? So this is the last part of this subtask. We can then mark it as done. So right now we have tests for both the validity of the password input and the validity of the email input, but we still need to write some tests for the validity, or not validity, but sanitization, right? So let me get the same pattern here, tests validity of password input. So I'm going to write this here, tests sanitization of email input. And the next one I want to write is test sanitization of password input. Right. Okay. Then what I can think of is that in terms of the email, it should not contain uppercase letters in the domain of the email. And that's normally what's called or what is defined as sanitization. There is also some other steps in terms of pluses and dots on the email. We will focus on this because I think it's the more general approach to the test. But in any case, we could add additional test cases. Here I want to just make sure that the normalization of the email is actually working and is being called, and if one of these tests pass, then again is the same principle as we had before with the I think we were with the matches here and with some of the with the is email, right? So we are trusting the implementation of the is email, and therefore we don't need to test with all the cases. It's the same thing for the normalized email that we will use in a bit. So let me mark this as async, and here I want to simply send a request to app to post at the signup route to send some data, which we will just populate, and I want to have a 200. Oops. So the data here that I'm sending is a valid email, okay, but it's not sanitized. So let me write also a valid password so that we don't run into issues of invalid passwords. And let me quickly organize a little bit the code here. So this can come to a new line. This can also come to a new line. This, and this. So there is a small issue here. And the small issue is that this is a valid email. So I am expecting, if I send a request like this, to still receive a 200, right? But the email that is going to be a result of this request is going to be a normalized email, meaning it shouldn't contain these capital letters. So what I can do is to come to my code and to check the body of my email. So if so here we first write the regex. So if my email has any characters, then an @ sign, and after the @ sign it has any capital letter or capital letters. If it matches this pattern, then I want to send a status of 422. And here I'll just do a small adjustment on the top here. Also notice that I can just summarize this a little bit better like this. So let's start our test, right? And immediately the tests should fail. Exactly, because I am sending a 422 because my email is not normalized. But the test is fine, right? Test at test.com, and at this level we are actually not checking that the email here will in the end be equal to the email that is sanitized. We could maybe send the email back and test that the sanitized or the normalized email is the same, and maybe we could actually do that. So let's do that. So const normalized email is going to be test at test.com. Here I will have this request. I will still expect a 200 from it, but I will have a response. And now I can check, expect the response.body.email to equal my normalized email. Right, so of course this whole thing is going to blow up because I don't have a request.body.email, and I'm still sending a 422. So this is the first thing I will address. I will fix the 422 by adding here the normalized email, so chaining this into at the end of my chain of validation methods. But this should still blow up because I have no response.body.email, right? So here, okay, my first step of the test is now passing, so I am receiving the 200 that I wanted because this is not matching, but I still need to send my email, and this is going to be rec.body.email. And now let's see if my test passes. And now it passes. So now I can ensure that the normalized email is equal to this normalized email. So I'm assuming then that the .normalize email method is going to work also to other cases that need normalization. I'm not gonna spend too much time writing the tests for this case. With the password, it's a little bit different because now sanitization of passwords refers to mostly substituting characters like less than, greater than, or a single quote by its HTML equivalent, right? So what I need to do here, or what I'm interested in, is that it should not contain unescaped characters. And fair enough, I will start by sending a request. A request to app.post signup route.send, and here I'm going to send some valid data. No, I should copy only this part here. And let's put the normal email test.com, and here this is a valid email, this is a valid password, so let's make it not valid, right? I'm adding here a HTML character. So now what I need to check is if this happens, then I should expect actually still a 200, right? But the password itself, it should not contain this unescaped character. So the process is going to be a little bit similar to what we did here. I'm going back to the code and I'm going to execute another regex test, and it's going to test simply to see if I find globally some character that is going to be included in this list. This, or this, and this needs to be escaped, I believe. And now I'm going to test the rec.body.password. And then if it finds, then I'll do the same. I will send a status of 422. So let's see what's going to happen with our tests. And fair enough, the tests fail, right? Because now I am matching this character here in my regular expression. So let me remove this and let me check if the tests are passing. Now the tests are passing. So let me reintroduce this and check that the tests are failing. The tests are failing. So now let's address this problem by simply coming to the, maybe can be this method. So I want to trim, and actually maybe we do this before everything. So body password dot trim dot escape. So we are trimming and escaping the password, or no, let's not escape this before, because then the length is going to be affected, and I don't want the length to be affected. So let's remove everything, and we will put the dot trim back here, then dot is length, and then afterwards I can add the dot escape method, right? So now I'm going to escape the characters as long as I can ensure that the length of the password matches this 8 to 32 characters. So let's see what's going to happen now with our failing tests. And fair enough, the tests are now passing. So even if I add other types of special characters, I will still have my test passing, because they will all be escaped by the code. What would happen, for example, if I had the escape method before the length method? Let's see if I call this escape method after the trim. And let's give it a try to make the password a little bit less than 8 characters. So here there are 5 characters. Let's see if the tests will pass. Now they failed, right? So I think that the middleware is smart enough to perform this isLength check in the original one. Actually, that's not true. It's missing a number. Sorry, that was already invalid. Okay, so it's not that smart. So as you can see here, I have 6 characters, but if I escape it before my test passes, because I add additional characters via the escape. However, if I escape it after, then this test should fail. And fair enough, it fails. So the order here, it matters, right? It's important. So we could even take this body password the password dot escape and put it at the very end here. That is more of a it doesn't need to be like that, but oops, maybe in the future we'll change. But I like this idea that, okay, test everything and then you escape the password. So this should still make our tests fail because the password is not valid. So let's add a valid password. So valid 1, and then so here I have 6, 7, 8, 9 characters, and this should pass. Exactly. Good. And do I need to test, well, maybe equality with an expected password? Not really. I mean, if you want to go and fetch the exact HTML characters that are equivalent to such to these special characters, then you can go ahead and do it. For the purposes of our code here, we don't have to do it. We don't need to go that much into detail. This is already test enough for us to be sure that the password is being escaped correctly. Good. I think that's it. I can now run pre-year fix. So now it's a little bit more organized, and now I can run git add, git commit, and that is going to be fit in the authentication package, and this is going to be implement input sanitization. Oops, I have a mistake, not mistake, but an unnecessary escaped character is probably this one. Let me see if my tests are going to be passing. Yes, okay, everything is fine. So now I can continue git add, git commit, and then it should not complain on the LinkedIn step anymore. Give it a couple of seconds. It's going to run the tests very quickly for us, make sure that we don't commit with bad tests. And now everything is implemented. I can push to the remote repo. And another thing that I can do is I can come here, I can say to validate is, well, if there was someone to review, it would go for review, but now I'll just mark it as done. Nice. Okay, our first task is completed. And with this, I will come to the end of this video. In the next video, we will pick another task from here, probably the encrypt the provided password. And then we will work a little bit on the implementation, or maybe we could even save the user information to the database. But this is something that at the moment, it will require quite a bit of setup from our side, because we need to set up the MongoDB and we need to set up Kubernetes, because we want to have everything in a Docker container or in several Docker containers talking to each other within a Kubernetes cluster. So this task here of saving the user information to the database will actually have quite a bit of setup. Maybe we could do this to change a little bit the environment of the videos, to move a little bit more to exploring Docker and Kubernetes, but we'll see. I will think about it, which one we're going to do in the next video. Until then, thank you for your time and see you in the next video. Bye bye.